A recent fire has stirred another round of public debate in China over the challenges of living in high-rise buildings. As the earliest generations of these residential towers approach 30 years of age, the conversations are only becoming more frequent. In this context, I spoke with Chu Dongzhu, chief architect at the Chongqing Architectural Design Institute.
When you look at some of the older residential blocks, especially those long stretches of buildings all connected together, you'll notice a lot of light wells left in between. These light wells were mainly designed so more units could get sunlight. But the downside is that the buildings often end up enclosing these spaces like a chimney. So if a fire starts on a lower floor, the flames can shoot upward very quickly. If we look at it in more detail, the spacing between buildings, the overall density, the scaffolding used during old building renovations, flammable objects and materials, even the wind direction at the time. Some of these are accidental factors, but many are structural and inevitable.
Approaches to high-rise building management differ across countries. Singapore places strong emphasis on life cycle regulation, backed by strict government enforcement. China, by contrast, is a much larger country and needs a model that fits the realities of governing at scale. Having worked in North America earlier in his career, Mr. Chu noted that Chinese and North American designers diverge significantly in how they think about tall buildings.
In China's high-rise building codes, one long face of a tower must face the street. That way, fire trucks are always able to park along at least one side of the building. When I first worked in North America, I realized they don't emphasize this at all. About 20 years ago, I watched a Canadian architect design a tower that someone later joked looked like a candle stuck on a cake. In China, even an architecture undergrad probably wouldn't draw something like that. But after talking with them, I came to a conclusion. North American high-rises rely much more on the building itself, on preventing fire from spreading and on making sure people can get out. So, which approach is correct? I'm not ready to give a definite answer. But if we can emphasize both external rescue and the internal quality of buildings, then China's buildings could keep improving on both fronts, response and prevention.
Li Xiaojiang, former head of the China Academy of Urban Planning and Design, warned that high-rise housing could eventually become a heavy burden for Chinese society. Mr. Chu shared his own view on that point.
Now, why did high-rises grow so rapidly over the past few decades? On one hand, it's because of our land system. On the other hand, it was a period when urbanization was rising at an incredible pace. Once people had some financial foundation, buying a home became a way to preserve and grow their wealth. Even if they weren't aiming for huge profits, at least they didn't want their money sitting in the bank, shrinking with inflation. From an ordinary person's perspective, this is understandable. But under these conditions, the supply of housing grew far beyond actual living needs. What happened then? Some homes were rented out, some were lived in, and some were completely empty. And the ability of these homes to resist or warn of disasters is not the same.
There are quite a number of investigations because we have to ensure that justice is done. We want to ensure that we will prevent such a tragedy to happen again.
During our conversation, Mr. Chu showed me an artwork made in 1908. In it, dense rows of windows line tall buildings. Elevated urban roads crisscross the scene, and sunlight is blocked so completely that some corners of the city need streetlights during the day. The artwork seems to reveal a certain anxiety the artist feels beneath a veneer of technological optimism.
Back then, people had great confidence, sometimes even overconfidence, that technology, science, and industry would create a better life for humanity. But many also started to reflect on this optimism. For example, Jules Verne, the famous French science fiction writer, wrote a novel called Paris in the 20th Century. Writing about a future he would never see, he described a Paris filled with layered transportation systems and skyscrapers. But in that novel, he also portrayed people rushing through the city every day to work and study, yet not feeling happy. So, in a way, literature was already reflecting on this idea of a developed future and questioning whether progress always leads to a better life.